If you are new to investment properties and are wondering what the heck does rental property insurance cover, you're in luck because today we are going to dive into that. Okay, first up, let's just get this disclaimer out of the way. Let's talk about it up front. Every insurance policy is unique, and every rental property has unique risks. The only way, and I mean the only way, to make sure that you are properly insured is to work with a trusted advisor to have a risk analysis done and then purchase the policy that they are recommending. In this video, we're going to cover a lot of the key insurance sections that you will typically see on a rental insurance policy so you can understand what to look for and you can make sure that you understand what you are buying. We won't have time to dive into every single thing that is or isn't covered, and we certainly won't have time to dive into specifics like coverage forms and terms. That is way too unique to your state and your rental property, and frankly, it's best left to the insurance nerds like myself. What we will do, though, is dive into some common coverage areas that you will see on an insurance policy so you can get a handle for the basics. All right, you ready? Let's jump on in. Okay, so there are three key areas I want you to think about when it comes to rental property insurance policies. The first section is the property insurance section. This typically covers things like physical damage to your home or the structure of your investment property. This can be for things like fire, it could be like wind damage, a lightning hits the house, something like that. This is the physical damage to your home, and it's dictated by the coverages that are specific to your policy. It can also provide coverage for additional buildings. So if you have a detached garage or a detached shed, something like that, this is where that coverage will be. Now, keep in mind, though, with these items, you often have to add them on separately. It's not included in the policy, like a homeowner's insurance policy, where there is coverage built off for other structures. This is an entirely separate thing with rental property insurance, and you want to make sure that you have it. So if you have detached structures, you want to make sure that you add them on individually. If you don't, no problem. You don't need to add them on. You'll save a little money. It's great. It's also just a great reason to stay in touch with your agent. A lot of times we add sheds or other structures after we have purchased the property. So you just want to make sure that you're staying in touch and they've got all the latest and greatest info. Now, the other line items that you'll see in property will be for things like equipment. Things like could be like lawnmowers or snowblowers, or maybe you're keeping a bunch of tools, things to help maintain the property. These can be covered, but again, you need to add them separately. They would typically be put under business personal property, and you just come up with a blanket limit for whatever that might be. So if you're keeping $5,000 worth of tools at the property, you would add on $5,000 in tools. Next up, let's talk about liability insurance. If someone is hurt while living in the rental property or visiting it and tries to claim that you were somehow negligent, this is what steps up. So let's say somebody is coming to the property and they slip and fall in some ice, and it was up to you to make sure that the driveway was clear. Well, this is what would step up if they tried to sue you and claim that you were negligent in some way. We often see this start around $1 million and up, and we always advise people to buy as much as they can afford because you want to make sure that you're covered in these events and you don't lose your hard-earned investment property because of a liability claim. All right, next up is section number 3, loss of income. If your rental property is damaged by a covered loss, such as a fire or a windstorm, something like that, and you can no longer rent out your investment property, this is what steps up to provide that loss of income that would come to your property from renting. So if you have that loss and you can no longer rent it out, well, now you need something to replace that income, and that's exactly what this is designed to do. It's to help make you whole in the event that you have a claim and you can't rent it out to your tenants. All right, now I couldn't just leave it at 3, so let's talk about some bonus items and endorsement packages. These are what make you happy with your insurance policy. They're typically added on for a flat fee across the entire policy, and they provide a ton of coverages. So this might be like $100, and it's going to kick in a bunch of coverages for things like service line, water backup, ordinance and law, business personal property. So in the example above, you wouldn't necessarily have to add that coverage on separately because it could be included in an endorsement package that is added to your policy. So any agent, any agency that's worth their salt, they're going to add these endorsement packages on because of the coverages that they kick in. And the beautiful thing about them is typically the company is going to add all these coverages for that flat fee, and it costs you less money than if you were to buy each thing individually. A lot of times, even just water backup might cost as much as buying this entire package. So you might as well do it to get all the other coverages. So those are your 4 key sections to look out for on a rental property insurance. Next, Let's spend a few minutes on what landlord insurance and rental property insurance does not cover. Landlord insurance does not cover your tenant's belongings. So if there is a fire, a total burn, and your tenant has some furniture and antique china and all their personal property and it's lost in the fire, that's not covered under your policy. You're going to want to encourage that they have renter's insurance to cover their belongings. Same goes with long-term housing for tenants after a claim. That is best covered via their personal renter's insurance policy, and there's not coverage designed in your policy to put them up after a claim has happened and they can no longer stay in your unit. Landlord insurance also doesn't cover for repairs and maintenance. So if you have wear and tear and it's just time for a new roof, it's not going to step up and provide coverage. Or if your dishwasher breaks, the furnace goes out, something like that. General maintenance and wear and tear is not something that's covered under an insurance policy, and there's not coverage for that. Okay, so that's a wrap. Again, today we talked about the common coverage areas that you will see on an insurance policy designed for a rental property. We talked about the property section, we talked about the liability section, we talked about the loss of income section, and I even dropped the fourth one in there with the bonus and endorsement packages, the things that make you happy with your insurance policy. This is in no way a complete list. When it comes time to protect your investment property, the best way to do it is to reach out to a trusted advisor who specializes in rental properties like the Kinney Insurance Agency. We would love to help you out, and we would love to help you get the right protection for your rental insurance policy as simple as possible.